stop recording. Awesome. Well, welcome and thank you everybody for joining today. My name is Mike Condon. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development here at HomeWell, and we have the honor today to have John Langford with us. John is one of our franchisees down in the Galveston, Texas market and just south of Houston there. And excited to share his story. And really the goal of today's call is just to give us some insights into John and why HomeWell, why he made the decision to join us, and to really talk about his process up into this point, the goods, the challenges, because we all know business isn't perfect, and this one is no different, and just have a great conversation. So John, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Excited to talk about it. Obviously, I love it because here I am, right? So it's a great franchise and a great business.
Awesome. Well, let's start at the beginning, like I typically like to. Talk to us a little bit about how you came to HomeWell. What was your background and kind of what was your motivation to look at franchising one, but and specifically ended up landing on HomeWell?
Sure. So I have a healthcare background, 20 years as a respiratory therapist. About 12 of those years I spent leading respiratory departments and redoing departments and all that, especially during COVID. Um, Walking through some of my own personal experiences with my wife's parents, who were a little bit older, and then my grandparents, who really struggled to find appropriate care. And basically, my wife's parents probably, I would suspect, kind of starved to death because of just lack of attention and lack of care. So I really started, my wife and I started talking about it, and I was like, golly, we can really do a much better job than what we have seen out there in that realm. And it wasn't in Texas that was going on, but even still. And so that kind of kick-started us looking around. And why HomeWell specifically? Because to be honest, right, I did my due diligence just like everyone does. I look at different franchises and different groups. But really HomeWell stood out to me because it's so personable, right? Like I know that I can talk to anybody in this franchise, anybody in this group, and they're going to help me. They want me to succeed. Y'all want me to succeed, right? Because it's best for all of us if we all succeed together, right? So, but the greatest thing about it is you're not just a number. You're not just, oh, I'm Texas 225. Yes, that is me, but they know me as John, right? That's who I am. I'm John Langford. I'm an owner. I'm not that number, right? And that was a huge, huge thing. And the other thing that I really, really liked was the setup process. Like the whole launching process, I felt 100% prepared when I threw those virtual doors open. I knew that I was ready, right? And it was all teed up for me. And that was the most important thing. I could have gone out and done this by myself, but I wouldn't have had any of those resources. I wouldn't have had any of that direction. And I probably would have been still circling the drain right now if I had done that. So a real big thing about it was, like I said, it was just here you go. This is exactly how it is. This is how we succeed. If you follow this plan, you will also succeed. And that's what I was excited about.
So what was your timeline? So when did you come in? Like talk to us a little bit about your timeline, and then your training, the training process itself.
Sure.
Obviously, you came in with a healthcare background,
Sure.
which is ironic because 48% of our owners, they don't have a healthcare background and they have never ran a business. So the training is set up to help all of those that maybe don't have the background like you. So talk to us a little bit about your timeline when you came in and how long it took to get open.
Yeah, so I think it was last summer that I initially just started the conversation of it. And I'll have to, boy, right? The time just slips. But I know it was through maybe August, September that we started doing those initial calls and training. But I've never owned a business. So I didn't know anything about that side of it. I mean, my healthcare background was mostly bedside care, right? I mean, yes, I've directed departments and done financials internally within hospitals, but that's totally different, right, than doing your own business. So it was definitely a different thing, even though I had that background. So I agree that it's set up for people like me that never owned my own business, never had it, never did it. But I think it was August, September. I want to say that we kind of started those initial trainings and talkings, and then I opened in January. So through that whole stretch of months, I was on the phone, with Laura, and on the phone with other people, on the phone with my other owners in the area. I was introduced very quickly to other owners within my area because we have, I think, 6 or 7 of them
Mhm.
in this greater Houston area. And they've been huge resources, which is another great thing about this franchise. Everybody's not out for themselves,
Yeah.
right? We're here to do this together because, I mean, the brand is the brand, and we all represent the brand. And so that was big, and I had all those conversations. And again, the learning lab was amazing, right? The online training stuff that we did, that was all very, very incredible. And to me, the whole process, I guess, from August up to January was just lock key. Like,
Yeah.
very simple, very easy to do, but it was up to me to do it, right? If I didn't participate and I didn't do it, then I can only expect what I get out of it.
Yeah.
So for me, not being a business owner, not having any idea of that side of it, I really focused down on that. Like, what are some of the pain points that I'm hearing out there? What are some of the sticking points that I'm hearing out there that I can prepare myself for when I open, right? What are some of the things that I'm getting from all those resources? Because tons of resources, right? So, like I said, when I opened the door, I felt like I'd been in business for years. Like
Yeah.
I knew exactly what was going on.
Well, that's the important thing, especially because when you came in, we had done our launch well process, right? It was newer, but you were one of the first ones that really went through it, the full cycle of it. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people hear virtual training and it's all online. There's mixed feelings with that, which I can appreciate. From your
sure.
experience, did you feel you missed anything by not being in person, so to speak, right? Do you feel like maybe something wasn't covered as well, or do you feel like it gave you maybe a little bit more time to digest the information as you went through it on your own pace?
Yeah, I think it gave me more time, right? I mean, to be honest, and again, we had a lot of live interactive uh, meetings and groups. So it wasn't all just I'm here at my computer just doing it. We had a lot of those meetings, during the launch process where it was live, it was interactive, it was role playing. It was what are those some of those best? How do we talk to a director of a facility if we've never done that, right? How do we go out and just introduce ourselves to a community that has no idea who we are? All those role playing things, being able to do that. And then you pair that live interaction with the online information, and it all just comes together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, it was great, obviously. Um, and then you get to look back, like I'll go through it and I'm like, wait, I can't remember. And then you can go back and do it again. So you can go back and look at it just to refresh your memory. Like, oh yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean it's on-demand learning is kind of the way I would coin it, right? I mean, starting a business, you're drinking through a fire hose. You are, and there's no
For
no
sure.
other way around it,
For
right?
sure.
You're going to learn. We're going to give you the information, but you're not going to retain everything, and it's okay to say that. So
Yeah.
having access to be able to go back and relearn the stuff or just refresh yourself on the stuff that you went through, I think,
Yeah.
allows you to be more comfortable when you get to that opening stage. You hit on one thing that I think is a really important topic, especially in franchising, is the culture of the franchise owners. Treg and
Yeah.
I, we and Jack and our team can talk about it all day long, but you get to live it every day.
Sure.
The importance of being able to call a neighbor and say, "Hey, I'm having this challenge. How did you do with that?" How do you feel it's helped you just ramp up faster to be able to have that network of owners? Because I think that is when you join a franchise, I think that's one of the most valuable pieces. I really do. As much as corporate as we provide you and give you the support,
Sure.
calling another owner and saying, "I'm dealing with this issue. Oh yeah, this is how I dealt with it," is way more valuable than what we can say. So, talk a little bit just about that because I think it's such a huge point of emphasis.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. And it was huge because, one of them I met even before during that launch time. And he helped me because I went to his office. He's like, hey, come on out, come see what my office looks like, come see. And that really helped me to kind of put together because when I'm thinking of getting my own office, I'm thinking of like, oh, I need 10,000 square feet of luxurious, you
No.
know, I'm just way out of bounds, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice for me to kind of, hey, let's come back down to earth a little bit. But it was great to see how he had everything set up. And then he kind of told me a little bit of how he structured at the beginning, because he was, I think, not even a year in at that point. He was about 8 months in. And so still relatively new. So he let me know kind of how he structured his roles, right? What was he doing?
Mhm.
And what did he have other people doing? And then where were some of those hiccups, right? Where was
Yeah.
he getting hung up? And we talked for a long time, even before I opened. And then after I opened, I met another individual to my west, if you will. And I went to visit her office, and we sat down and she shared policies and procedures. She shared best practices. She shared, hey, don't waste your time on this because I've already done it.
Yep.
Right? So you're saving me a few months. I'm going down a rabbit hole. But yeah, it's 100% important. And I know that I can call them anytime. And that just kind of helps me out, right? Because on the one hand, the one that I met earlier, he's a little bit newer, but he's also doing extremely well. But then the other one, she's been in business for several years. So she has a little bit more
Yeah.
of that step process of understanding what it looks like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Um, but even going to some of the conferences, right? And meeting, there's one in Florida, and she gave the best advice that I took home, and it was like, stay out of your office, right? Stay out of your office. Don't get stuck in your office. And that just stuck home to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know what am I going to be doing from my office? That's true. So the very first day that I opened, I was out. I was in every hospital, every nursing home, everywhere. And I went there over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so that advice really stuck home to me from someone who
Yeah.
had been through it, right?
Mhm.
Like it's so easy to get bogged down and because it's a business, right? We're not going to sugarcoat it. So it's easy to get bogged down and stuck into the computer and stuck into all these things. But what I did was took all that advice again, and I prepared for those moments. Like, where
Yeah.
were those hangups, and what can I do to prevent that from happening to me?
Yeah. So let's dive into those. What were the
Sure.
hangups you saw and how did you avoid them, or what would your advice be now to somebody who's maybe getting open or potentially, close to getting
Sure.
open? How love to hear some of that.
So I quickly found, right, day-to-day tasks you can be lost in that forever. And the biggest thing you want to do is make those connections early and start making that groundwork as early as possible, because it's going to take time, right? You're not going to be on the third day. Man, I just made $100,000 today on the third day. That's not going to happen. That'll be great. But you got to lay the work. You got to lay the work. And so I quickly found, from a recruiting standpoint, right, getting the caregivers in, interviewing, those just general phone call management. Those were the things that were quickly piling up fast.
Mhm.
Because from a recruiting standpoint, that's every day, all day,
Yep.
or should be every day, all day, right? You should be interviewing and hiring all the time. You should be having orientation every single week if you can get around to it, right? If you have enough people. But those are easy. Those are tasks that can easily get you away from what you're supposed to really be doing. So I found people to do those things, right? I found ways around that. I found people to answer the phone, so I don't even touch any of the phone unless it's something I need to address directly. I have 2 people in my office, right? So it's not 10 people. You don't have to hire 10 people,
Yeah.
right? I have me, I have the HR scheduler, and I have my care manager, and really kind of delegate those responsibilities out. Where one's managing the phone, one's doing the recruiting, interviewing. They're both actually sharing the orientation training together. And then my care manager, of course, does all the assessments and all that. And then me, I get to be out,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I
I'm,
think
build,
that's the
I'm building the
beauty.
brand.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, that's the beauty of the model is, you get to do what you're good at and what you enjoy if you set it up right. And I think that's where a lot of the education in the beginning
Right.
comes in, and talking with other owners and working with your business coach, which is a topic I love to talk about because I think they add the most value to our owners that I would hands down say that has helped us be successful. But you're able to focus on what you're good at and what you enjoy doing versus paperwork, or maybe that's just not your strong suit, right? I know for me
Right.
that's not my strong suit at all. So so being able to do that, and from an office structure standpoint, having the support team, you're not in it alone. A
Right.
lot of people ask the question, well, how many people do I need? It's really up to you. Do you need one? Do you need two? Do
Yeah.
you need three? Well, what do you want to do and what do you want to delegate? Because you can't do it all by yourself. We know that for
Correct.
a fact. And John, I'm sure you would admit you just can't.
Correct.
There's not enough hours in the day.
Right.
So your office structure looks like you have two people in office. You have yourself who's doing most of the sales and marketing, I'm assuming, and networking, things of
Right.
that nature. What is it going to look like? What are you projecting it to look like in 6 months or a year as you continue to grow? So I know you've thought about that. I know you have your org
Yeah.
chart because that's something
Yeah.
we talk about a lot,
For
right?
sure.
So what does that look like to you?
Yeah. So for me, and I actually just hired a salesperson. So
Okay, awesome.
um, he's new. He's new. He's about 2 or 3 years out of school, Texas A&M. Degree in business and communications. So he's hungry and ready.
Yeah.
And very excited, about doing it. So I'm excited about it too, because, for him, I would want him to do more of the face-to-face B2B type stuff. And again, that still frees me up to do more of the community events that I want to do. So it's not eliminating me from the from anything, but it's just allowing me to more direct my attention on the brand building side of it, and focusing the sales on the sales side of it.
Mhm.
As far as 6 months from now, right? It's looking at as the hours obviously go up, you want to kind of gauge where your care manager and your HR person is, and kind of see you just kind of have to feel because some people work at a higher volume, some people work better in a lower volume. So it's kind of seeing where that pain point is, if you will, or that sticking point is, but knowing that you might need, another person
Mhm.
or a part-time person, right? As the hours continue to go up, which is a good thing because once you get up there, it's okay. It's not going to bother you to hire another person,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it would now, but
Yes.
6 months from now, I'm not going to care.
How has the business coach, and I think you work with Stu, if my memory serves me correctly. I could be wrong in that. The business coaching part of it, how has that helped you kind of think about your business and growth, and because I do feel the one-on-one coaching that our owners get is why our own part of why our owners have been so successful. Obviously, your hard work that goes into it, that's number one, but the guidance that they're able to provide you, whether good, whether you take it, but it's just having somebody you can always call and say,
Right?
I'm stuck here. How do I do this? So help everybody understand, how do you use that resource, and how has it helped you continue to grow at the rate you're growing?
No, it helps tremendously, obviously, right? Because for me, I do a lot of thinking in my head, and it takes me a little while sometimes to talk it out. And so just having that time to just sit there and talk it out, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to ask, right? So just even having that conversation, because we meet once a week, right? On like scheduled. I mean, obviously we can reach out anytime, but we have that scheduled time to just sit there and just talk it out. And it's like, hey, what are your pain points? What's going on? Is there anything that anything that's come up, or and then sometimes just hearing from because they have all other people that they're also talking to, so you get to hear some of that feedback, and you're like, oh yeah, that's true, right? Something might click. So it's been tremendous resource for me, just from a communication standpoint, and again, just learning more about the franchise as a whole. Some of those best practices things as you grow, you're probably going to have more questions to me
Mhm.
almost
Yeah.
than at the beginning. I feel like I have more questions now, as far as just kind of small questions about direction here or there. than I did at the beginning. But that's what they're there for. That's what they're there to help with, and that's why it's set up that way.
Yeah.
So the success continues because you have that resource. It's not just, hey, we're going to launch you up, you're going to do great, and then I'll see you later.
Yeah, I
Right?
always like to say I use the example of Lou Romano in New Jersey, who has been doing this, almost 20 years now, right? And he still talks to a business coach. You're probably going to learn something if you're new talking to your business coach. If he does
Yeah.
it and he's been very successful and been doing it for 20 years, I bet you somebody coming in brand new is going to learn a few things from your coach. So use that resource. And again, it doesn't stop when you're in and all of a sudden they're like, oh, we can't talk to you anymore. It is a
Right.
continuous process, which is going to continue to add value and hopefully get you to whatever your goals are, whether they be revenue or otherwise, right? So
Sure.
so this has been great, John. I kind of want to just put a bow on it here and ask, from your perspective, somebody who's looking at this industry, and again, there's challenges, right? Hiring
Yeah.
caregivers, it's a process, right? It is. You have to, you
Yes.
said it, you have to always be doing it. Nothing is perfect in this industry, like every other business model out there. But
Right.
if there's somebody that's looking at the industry and is like, is this a good decision? Just give them why was it a good decision for you, and any advice you want to give to them as they're continuing to do their due diligence.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, obviously, the best decision for me personally. It's the best decision I've ever made. Last 6 months or 5 months, best stretch of my life I've ever had. Right. 100%. 100%. Um, you know, Working previously, I missed all the things, right? I missed all my kids' games. I missed all my kids' recitals. I missed everything, missed it all. And yeah, it's not perfect, 100, right? But it gives you the opportunity to succeed. It gives you an opportunity to serve the community that desperately needs it. I mean, once you're out there, you're going to see, wow, this is brutal for some of these people. Like, how are they living this way, right? And so you have the real opportunity to be a servant, really, to really serve the community that you're in. And I tell people, for me, it's the community first, the community, the people. You take care of those two things, the profit. Hey, if you can add and subtract,
Yeah.
right, and keep your books, in order, that's going to be there. It's going to be there, 100%. If you take care of the community, you take care of those people, that profit's going to be there.
Yeah.
If you try to focus the other way around, I think you'll get lost in some of it. So for me, I do it maybe backwards to what some people think.
Yeah.
But again, best decision I ever made. I wish I would have made it 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I will tell you, you're not doing it backwards. We talk about it all the time on the front end. If you come in with a passion and a purpose and a why to be here, it's really hard to not be successful here. And that's not a guarantee, but it really is hard. And if you put people
Sure.
and community first, and really take care of those two buckets, everything else is going to fall into place. I couldn't agree more, John. And so excited to see where you take this business. It's been a short 6 months here you've been going, but I say short and long.
Right.
But
For sure.
but we're excited to see what the next 6 months plus and 6 years to 10 years and wherever this business takes you. We're glad you're part of HomeWell, John, and I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to share your knowledge and your wisdom with the folks here. So, anybody on the call that has any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to your development director. We'd be happy to answer your questions as you continue your due diligence. John, have a great rest of your Friday, sir. Thank you so much, and everybody have a great day. Thanks for joining.
All right. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.